Hello, everyone. Good morning, my friends. Welcome. It's Monday, and that means it's chronic illness practice on the Sick of This Show. I am Nick Paro. I'm joined by my returning friends and colleagues, Stephanie Wilson, Beth Cruz, and So. Good morning, y'all. How are you today? Let me change my name so it doesn't say Banner and Backbone, because right now I'm sick of this shit publications and not Banner and Backbone. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
You know, it's Monday morning. I don't know why you chose Monday morning for the let's feel great uh, conversation. No, it's everything's good too.
You
It's
know,
Monday morning.
I think I chose Monday just because it's like one of those days that can be really tough for us.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to start the week on a good note and on the right foot. Um, so I think I do Mondays because of that. I think
I
subconsciously I was like, I have to start the week on a good note. So let's do that.
that's
All for it.
wonderful.
All right.
All right, let's
I
go.
apparently am not subscribed to one of you. Oh, I wasn't subscribed to you, Beth. So everybody who's in the chat, please hit the little chyron at the top that says subscribe or follow, and subscribe and follow to all the great contributors here today. And my friends, they all have agreed to do this like repeatedly and weekly with us, or with me, and I truly appreciate them coming on for this. It's amazing. And today I wanted to, or we are actually going to have our discussion that we were going to do last week. But Restream was having some issues. There was an AWS outage. And so we couldn't stream, but it's placing value on life and not productivity. And I think this is something that I know I've had to really come to terms with, especially over the last few months, was how to replace value on life over just productivity and what that means to me and how it's impacted my career, and my life choices and parenting choices and all that good stuff. But I wanted to get y'all's thoughts too on what it means for you to place value on yourself and life itself and living and trying to live with a chronic condition over the lie that we always have to be productive. So I want to tee someone up. Maybe Stephanie, you
All right.
look like you had a thought there. I want to tee you up there on your thoughts.
Well, so let me get to the over productivity part in a second, because there's a step that I had to take before that, which was when I had to quit my job in 2011. I had an incredibly difficult time separating my job identity, like my identity as someone who worked in academia, who, my job was big part of my identity. And I luckily had a phenomenal therapist who helped teach me that my life identity wasn't my job identity, like that I had my own identity as a human being. And I'll thank her forever for that. She was one of the best therapists I've ever had. And now I pretty much decoupled like what I'm doing with my identity. Even here, I still have a hard time with feeling good about being me if I haven't been productive in ways that I can talk about. But even when I think I'm not being productive, I spend 3 hours looking at the news, and I dropped a podcast, and I didn't drop one yet. Guys, don't go looking. And and I tried to figure out a new software. I did all these things, but I have a hard time recognizing things as productivity, and I have a hard time just being unproductive, and it doesn't help that the world sucks and I can't focus on anything other than the news despite my best efforts. So that's something we all have to work on.
No, I agree. I agree. I think unwinding unwinding our personality from the work that we do, like, it's really hard to do, I think, for anyone, just in general, because we live in a society that is specifically currently built around like your value for our social system is how productive you are. Um, and that I think is just detrimental anyway, for all of us, but especially those with chronic illnesses. So yeah, for me personally, I'll jump in with my story too because it builds off of yours. Is I had to like reevaluate a lot after I lost my job a couple months ago. So my official last day of work at a tech company was the 4th of July. It was my official end date, which really sucks, but it was kind of convenient of them because they allowed me to have healthcare for an extra month, um, which is, fucking stupid that healthcare is tied to work, but that's a different conversation. Um,
The worst.
I think, yeah. Um, but I had to grapple with the fact that losing my job didn't mean I was a failure. Like, like that's why I came to Substack. I was lucky that Substack was here and people were using it. And I was like, oh, I've already seen people on Substack. I like the work that some of the folks are doing here. Maybe I should just keep doing what I'm doing and change a little. And then I wrote poetry, and it's unwound me from the idea that I have to like always be on, because my wife continues to tell me is like, you need to take breaks, you need to stop, you have people who exist outside of work that love and care for you. Um, and I think that's one of the reasons I like what I'm doing now, is because I can put it down when I need to at this point. And I'm starting to actually do that when needed. Like, most people won't see me on the weekends that much on Substack. It's because I try and spend time with my family now. Um, so yeah, I think it's taught really good, but it's also like it still sucks because I still see myself as like, did I actually work today? Did I do anything? Was I contributing in any way? And it's my worth is still a lot of ways tied to, did I do anything useful?
I totally agree, but I want to say something to you, Nick. It took me years to decouple myself from my work identity, and you've only had a few months. So be kind to yourself.
I've been going through years of therapy, so thank you. Like, I will be kind to myself. Thank you for that compliment. It's taken 2 years of a group therapy and individual therapy to get to this point, um, to like get past some of those things. So I value. Polly, I was a senior DevOps engineer doing backend software development, building infrastructure and automation pipelines for releasing software. I did for a startup in the health and fitness sector, and I worked at Amazon before that, on the Alexa health teams. Um, I have some good experience in tech. I actually talk about it a lot. That's my next show later today is Palin Talk with Shane Urich on Banner and Backbone. So if you want to see a more techie and like that side of me, and talking about the tech side, I understood the work pipeline. Yes, I made things so when you see updates in software on like your apps and stuff, I made those so that they could automatically happen for a software. That's the best I can do. And I built internal tools to help make other people's lives easier. Um, and now I'm doing it externally. It's actually not really much of a different job in the long run, than what I used to do. Is if people in the audience really want to know like what one of my driving theories is on how to do things, look up Conway's law. It is a law about mostly used in the tech field and often misapplied, but it's the law that the way systems are structured is how a business operates. So the way that the way that your communication systems are structured is how a business or a system itself will operate. And we're seeing that in real time with the government is untransparent and redacted communication leads to distrust and chaos, whereas radical transparency and accountability lead to trust and ethically sound ideas and like movement that is meaningful rather than like move fast and break things. It's move deliberately and create things. That's what I like to go by. So that's to answer that question in the audience. And please, anyone here too, if questions come up for everyone else, please ask them. And we like tangents here. That's what fibro is all about, is tangents and forgetting where you are from the start to finish.
Well, you've got brain fog. Mine isn't fibro, it's migraine, but brain fog is brain fog. And I think I'm a little bit neurodivergent, although I've never been diagnosed, so I can squirrel myself into almost any conversation. But yeah, I used to work in higher ed at the university, running research centers. So that was a really hard one to separate from. And now I teach leadership courses and do coaching for people in higher ed, with my husband and another partner that's empathy based and humaning based. And I have the opposite, which is I've got the imposter syndrome because they're experts in knowing how to teach this stuff, and I'm just like catching on as I go. So there's a lot of mental gymnastics for you guys to chew on. But I want to hear from Beth and So-So.
I'll go So-So. I think for me, it was really hard as far as I walked out of a very toxic job, I've said before, and at the end of the year, but it was just, I was having flares that I could not get out of. I wasn't being very productive. I was an office manager for a local land developer and builder, and I was just so burnt out from the abuse and the flares. You know, I was constantly either sick, not being able to walk, having to call out constantly, and not because I just wanted a day off, because I couldn't get out of bed. And so, yeah, I finally just made the decision. I can't do this. I can't. Handed the keys over, walked out, and I've been unemployed the entire year, and found myself on Substack, and finding community that were having some similar experiences. So with pain, like you guys, like all of you.
Well, I'm glad we could make this community together, because it's really isolating and alone if we're not.
It is. It makes
so yeah,
a difference. And for all of you out there, I hope so also that you think that. For me, it makes a humongous difference to have, you know, people and places where I can just be like, I feel like shit, and nobody's like, again, you know. So
yeah.
What about you, So-So?
What was the question again? This is totally me on a Monday morning with brain fog. For those who don't know me, I am a French-speaking Canadian. I live in Quebec City, so that's why you're gonna hear the accent. I haven't been on the work market since 2019, because I chose, when I met my now husband, to stay. We had a recomposed family. So, but before all of that, when I was, I always had struggle with with my sense of worth related to my job title because I have a master's in psychology. I worked as a psychologist for about 7 years, but I ended up having very difficult life issues. I mean, stressful as you would like, adverse life events such as death, mental illnesses in the family, and basically ended up having also difficulty. I was working with kids and having difficulties having kids myself, so it was just too much. So after a while I ended up saying, well, I can't keep up with the stress. And it was very, up to this day, the fact that I had struggle maintaining my, well, first, a psychologist is a protected reserve title. So if you don't pay your title, your license, then you're not able to call yourself a psychologist, because you can say I'm a master's psychology master graduate, but you can't say like, oh, I'm a psychologist, because I just don't practice anymore and I don't pay for my license. So it's been years and I haven't had a identity related to a title. I mean, then I ended up doing work with office work, and then I ended up being able to gain some sort of, I struggle. So see, I'm just struggling talking about it because we are, it seems like our identity is so much intertwined with what we do. And it really, I will tell you, like, I find it so distressing when people ask me, so what do you do? So what's your job? Like, and it is very just a mundane question. Like, I mean, that's all what we do.
We need to
But
find a good answer that's like, I'm a human being, what about you, or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I
Mhm.
think that's one of the big things I want is like to stop
Yeah.
having to be told, well, what is like the first thing I introduce myself is no longer as like, hey, I'm Nick, I'm a software engineer, or hey Nick, I'm Nick, I'm a podcaster or
Mhm.
show host or whatever I'm supposed to call myself these days. I think it's just I'm Nick. And I
Yeah.
want more people to do that too. So
well,
Stephanie, that was a great. I,
That's
I
good.
love that little tidbit.
Yeah.
Soso's my nickname, but it really feels like my identity. Like, I mean, my name is Sonia, but I've been called Soso, like, since, like, with my close friends or family. And you are right when you say, like, I just want to be called Nick. Well, if I say I just want to be called Soso, I mean, it's like you see all of me. I'm not gonna start singing, but all of me is Soso, and then my identity doesn't have to be related to something that I do all the time, because with a chronic illness, especially, I don't know about you guys, but I was an overachiever, have been since I was a kid, and found ways to just, because we find a lot of self-worth when we, this is how we're raised. Honestly, I'm not saying it's an excuse, but oh, you did that, oh good, oh wow, you're such a good, oh wow, you got straight A's, oh like, a lot of our self-worth always relates to something that's external, or exterior to us, like the self. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that I don't know. To me, it's that everybody has to be. Well, again, it's everybody has to be productive. But yeah, it's not just a U.S. problem. I think it's very like at least in both U.S. and Canada, it's a very
Western.
capitalistic problem.
Oh wait, what am
Not
I saying? Not Western. Look at the Asian. Like,
Yeah, I think it's really a capitalistic problem in the long run, is it, or a power problem.
I'm thinking power and culture. So like both Canada and America have this strong Protestant majority, which is, highly problematic on this side. But that Protestant work ethic where you have to tie what you do to who you are, it's not just us, but I think even for those of us who aren't Protestant, it like there are other ways that overachieving is in our culture, and
Maybe it's a Christian thing. Like, I mean, Christianity, I mean, it has a lot to do with, if you look at the Bible, it's like, when you do good things, you go to heaven. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you behave well, I mean, and then if you don't, then you're shamed into like having not done something, that has an objective that will be, I don't know. It's just a thought I'm having. What do you think?
well, I'm Jewish, and there's a very strong sense that, at least in the United States, that you go out, you go to college, period. And after that, my grandmother said to me when I finished college and was like getting a job, "Why did you quit?" Because I hadn't gone to graduate school yet. So like, so it can be, especially in mid-level or higher communities, economic situations. You go to college, and then you get a job or you go to grad school.
Well, if I can say, like, I grew up as a Catholic, French Catholic in Quebec, and my father was basically working in a mill. And for him, he had to go to work. He couldn't go to school because he had to leave home at like 15 years old. But then he was like, "Oh, I want you to have the future that I would have liked to have, blah, 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 blah. So go to school," like the whole like pressure of the like the family. So when I ended up going, and because I was obviously skilled with school and pretty good, so and then when I did all my masters, and then you listen all of that, like the ideals, and I ended up basically not being able to, and it was really for my mental health. Like, I had to say, like, no, that's it, I'm going to find something else. Well, something that he said to me was like, "Well, I've helped you go to school, so if you're going to quit if you're not going to be a psychologist anymore, then I wasted all my money on you, so you owe me $50,000. Is basically what I was told. So that mentality that you're worth what you do. I mean, and I'm just yeah. So I'm just saying, like, I still have issues with that. So, and it's always the shaming discourse, which is, anyways, I don't want to get into therapy this morning, but yeah, I know I have those issues to deal with, and they're still not resolved. So
There's a lot of guilt and shame behind it. I think personal guilt, because we're taught to do it. I know from a Jewish side, like, guilt is like something that people joke about as being built into our culture.
I have a joke real quick, because
Yes.
was raised Catholic. So the difference between Jews and Catholics is that Jews were born with guilt, and Catholics had to go to school to learn it.
Yeah, I was taught that joke too. Funny. I have some really bad jokes that I will not share. That are anyway. But I think guilt is built into it, just on, like you said, it's a very Protestant, it's very Catholic, it's very Jewish, it's very just Abrahamic faith to guilt ourselves into having to be productive about things, because you have to earn your way into heaven for Catholics and Christians. Like, for Catholics, you have to overcome original sin, and you have to be able to like earn your way in. For Christians, I don't know. Like, for Mormons, I know some of y'all get like a planet of your own somewhere along the lines. Like, I haven't figured out Mormonism yet.
a planet?
Scientology, I think they just buy their way in.
Well, that's only if you're in the highest ranks, I think.
I am pagan, so I'm not gonna.
So did you learn guilt from paganism? Because
I learned guilt from the Catholic orphanage that I was in as a child. Yeah,
that's fair.
that's where, and my first husband, I had to go to classes to marry him, in the church, and I became Catholic, and I feel like, just my opinion, but everybody, it's all one. No matter where you're coming from, it's all one. That's just my feeling. And every religion has its ideas of how it began, and I just think that it just comes from something. So I'm more not religious as I am, I would say, spiritual. I don't follow
Yeah,
religion,
I have
but I
faith.
respect them all.
I am, yeah, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I don't care about a God. I'm culturally Jewish. I am not religiously Jewish. I like to make that distinction.
I'm not sure there is a distinction, actually. I think probably the majority of Jews are atheists.
Probably.
It's like, just
I-
be a damn good fucking human.
Right, exactly.
Be a good
Yeah.
person. That's
It's
it.
That's it.
It's
Funny,
simple.
funny we're talking about this is like we started watching West Wing in our house.
Oh God, it's not too sad.
My wife bought all the seasons or a bunch of seasons of West Wing, and such a good show. But we got to the episode where it was about capital punishment and should they let this person off, and one of the guy's rabbis wrote a sermon specifically for him about how it is not our job to kill. That's God's domain. Ours is to punish. And punishment doesn't mean kill. That's up to God to do. And I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, well, that's an interesting way to frame it. I've seen the Jewish God be pretty spiteful and have his people kill a bunch of people. Like, I pushed back on that when I heard it because it's the cognitive dissonance for me. Because the walls of Jericho came tumbling it down, and they didn't do that on their own. But anyway, that's a different tangent we could get down.
Speaking of tangent, Nick, do you feel, guys, like since we're talking about identity and productivity, do you feel that what's happening right now with the whole like putting forth meritocracy in US politics actually is really difficult for people like us?
Wait, ask the question again. Sorry.
It's okay. Let me phrase it correctly. What are your thoughts on the fact that it feels like in the US politics right now, the movement is like survival of the fittest and meritocracy is being put forward, So what do you think that means for, and I'm saying people like us, like people who are just trying to, we are struggling. I mean, just to function. I mean, we all have different definition of functioning, but I mean, don't you feel like the guilt is like tenfold? Like, do you know what I mean?
I look at it as the world isn't built for people who are in pain all the time. It's built for people who are physically, don't have any restrictions in the United States. And I don't know about Canada. It's built for white people. It's built for Christian people. Like, I think that meritocracy is it's a way of saying things that are, it's only meritocracy for if you're white, and religion may or may not count, but if you're white and able-bodied and privileged and have money.
I would agree. You can also see how we're being pushed out of society in general in the US. Also about like it was pointed out, like healthcare being taken away is one key like way they're trying to push people out of society, which is just means they want us to disappear or die, or force our way into productive society and then disappear and die because we can't make it. But I also like it's going to get even more ingrained and foundationally guilted into people if they start doing what Oklahoma has decided they're going to do, which is you only have 3 choices out of high school if you want to get your public. If you want to get your high school diploma, you have to either be going to college, be going to a trade school, or join the military. Those are your 3 options to get your diploma in high school now.
Mm-hmm.
The state with the 50th rank in education is now telling anyone who is not able-bodied in any way or financially able that the only thing that they are worth is not getting a high school diploma, even if they graduate. Like, even if you graduate and your grades are great, if you cannot get into college because, oh, look, there's no Department of Education with Pell Grants and things like that anymore for poor people to be able to go in. If you then can't go into trade school, which is also not free and costs money, and your only other option is then to enlist in the military in some way. But the military doesn't take everyone. So what happens to all of us who can't do any of those 3?
You end up going into ICE because now they're really lowering standards and you're going.
And they have a big
That's disgusting. Sorry, I just couldn't help myself.
No, or the other alternative that's probably going to happen out of this, unfortunately, is that you're going to become factory workers. And that's all they're going to be good for these kids, is they're going to be taught that they need to just become a no-skilled factory worker. And you're basically slave labor at that point, or prison. Like, those are really the other options.
And it's not like Oklahoma has free, like, community college.
Yeah, it's not like Oklahoma has anything useful.
Right.
Yeah. So just pointing that out there.
Mm.
So they are even further tying productivity to value by telling you if you're not productive enough, even just out of high school, you're not worth it. That means, like, you cannot start a small business as a viable graduation option in Oklahoma. You cannot have saved up money to, say, start a small business and have money coming in and get your high school diploma unless you join college, trade school, or the military. Like, you just don't get your high school diploma if you're in a public school.
If that's not state control or communism, I don't know what is.
It's Trump's America.
At least Ryan Walters is gone. At least their superintendent who watches porn in schools is gone. Because, that's fucking gross.
Yeah. I mean, what was I going to say? It's Trump's America. It's not going away, but it's different. My reality here in Massachusetts is so different from those in Canada and Nick's in Arkansas and Beth's in Seattle. I mean, it's really so dependent on where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's what people really forget about the importance of the Department of Education, especially for kids with disabilities. And this fits in really well with our conversation today too on valuing life and not productivity. Is the only thing that ensures a free and fair education, free and equal education for disabled students, which I have 2 of, was the Department of Education. It was a federal standard that mandated that everybody had to have access to a free and equal education through these resources. And we already know that Oklahoma doesn't believe in most things that are forward thinking at the moment, and they're making it so the public, all it is to make public schools less attractive and to get people to go either homeschool or school through their church and use the vouchers and things like that, which then lowers the education rate in our country in general because the stupid population is easier to control, yada, yada, yada. We know these things, but we need to teach the people that it's hurting these things.
Right. Well, it's also, I don't know if you guys know, this year, high school graduates start a very steep slope downward in, or just say 18-year-olds in numbers. So like the colleges are going to get way fewer applications. Way fewer kids are going to, even like just our generation had fewer kids and the generation after us had even fewer kids. And so there's a massive population drop that starts this year.
I have 4 adult children. None of them want children, which was as an adoptee, it was horrifying to me. That's children, family. But they were like, no, why would I do that right now? Which is, I couldn't argue. As sad as I am that I won't be a grandmother, I can't argue that. I would rather my children were safe. How sad is that?
Well, if it were, I mean, when my son was home with I think, remember the swine flu?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we all got it, and we were home for Obama's inauguration. And I made this little toddler sit in front of the TV, and I'm like, that's your president. That is your president. And, you know, if times were now, I don't know that I'd make a different choice than your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had kids early, my wife and I. So we had kids before all of this. Well, not really before, during the very beginning of a lot of all this. So, like, the scary thing I've come to realize is the only government that my children actually know is one that is actively hurting them. Like, the only US government that they know is one that's actively hurting them and trying to hold them back because they have a disability and because they are not going to fit into the system very well. Like, we haven't even talked about like how product on the flip side of all this, most of us have touched on it, is like we have ADHD. I think all of us in this group, either diagnosed or undiagnosed, we have some form of executive function disorder, and those don't fit well into the cogs that they want us to be, for the most part, unless you're really, really, really wealthy. And then you get to be as neurodivergent as you want because you're the one in charge making the rules and doing all the things. Like, Elon Musk is a perfect example of someone who's very neurodivergent, but they're not saying things about him in the way they do about the rest of us disabled folks, because he has a lot of money. And so his value is tied to his productivity, whereas ours is becoming more tied to just ourselves and our value and what we think we offer, and that we love ourselves and that it's okay to love yourself. I think that was the biggest thing I had to realize was I can be really productive. Like, I can be that person. I can fit in. I did 100 hours a week or 80 to 100 hours a week for almost 2 straight months. Like, I can do it. I can fit their system of 10x or 100x. I lived it. There was a reason I was a senior DevOps engineer within 4 years of developing. Like, I was good at my job, and I was the 10xer they wanted, but it cost me everything else. And I'm still working through all of that. Like, I'm not done decompressing all of it, but at least I had a good start. Like, Stephanie, thank you for giving me that positive shout out on it. It's like, I have a good start, but how are you guys handling
there
that?
are other options. And I just want to say that I think every genius in history who has been like a composer who made brilliant music, or an Einstein that understood the universe, all of those people are neurodivergent. Like, you cannot focus so closely on one thing and get beyond all human comprehension of it if you're not. Like, our brains are just not made that way, except the ones who are, you know, have a different, I don't even like to call it neurodivergent, but have just a different way than most people of thinking and processing.
The way I compare it is it's the way your brain processes information. I mean, I've used that example before. Like, you know, you might be driving a scooter, and let's say you're living on an island where everybody is driving the scooter, but then you end up having like a Ferrari in your head, and it's just like you're always too quick. You know, it's like, like, okay, it's like you're just too fast, and then you get impatient, and then, you know, because you don't understand, like, why don't they get that? Or, and then, but I mean, with time you learn, but I mean, and I don't necessarily like the word giftedness, because it feels like then you feel like if you're not productive enough, then you're not, you don't, do you know what I mean? It's like you should be doing with something with that, but
Then you don't get your presents.
so, but at the same time, it's really the way your brain, if you're talking neurodivergence, it's the way it processes information. When you talk about ADHD, you're so good at focusing, like my daughter's ADHD, and she can stay on a drawing for like 3 hours, and then it looks just perfect, picture perfect. So, but it's really
I'm going to answer a question in the chat real quick, which was from our friend Mason, she said to me, Nick, I'm the opposite. It was about the kids and fitting in our conversation about like kids not wanting to have kids or having kids so my kids are too young to care about having kids right now, which is fine and totally good. I hope they stay too young for a little while longer, until like Trump is well and gone, and we maybe have moved past the movement around this hatred, but we'll see. Is Mason has I have 2 kids having babies, 3 so far. I want them to stop. What world will these kids grow up in? And my response is I want to give a positive response to this one, so everybody can latch onto something good. Is I am not going to bemoan the fact that I am raising dragon slayers in the times of dragons. And so my kids are going to be strong, independent. They're going to know how to put people in their place when it's needed. They're going to know how to be authoritative without being an asshole all the time. They're going to know how to defend and protect themselves, and they're going to know that they need to be part of the change they want to see, and that others aren't going to do it for them. So I'm hoping not to bemoan the fact that I've got 2 kids, because there's some dragons out there that need slaying, or demons, because we've got a really good show called Demon Slayer, and it feels like we've got some demons going on. And that's what I want. I want my kids not to be afraid, even in a time of fear. So hopefully that helps, Mason.
I want my daughter to be a citizen of the world, not just like a Canadian citizen. And maybe that, if I look at, I was saying like my dad was working in this mill, wanting to travel the world, not necessarily being able to, but when he had the chance, he would try to go out there. He was the one who brought me to the States, and he said, learn English, because then you're going to be able to go places, but I'm glad I did. I mean, and now it feels like, because I'm a Gen X, and back then it was hard, unless you like spoke to other people. Nobody spoke English in my community. So it was really like watch TV, listen to music, translate with the dictionary. And now I look at my daughter, and she's 16, and she's just, right now in Quebec they're using like franglais, which is Fringlish, because they're just mixing words all the time. So like just watching on TikTok, and like they're so exposed. So that's what I'm saying, citizen of the world, because and that's also when I find you gain perspective.
When you're outside of your bubble and looking at it like from across the ocean. You get a really good idea of enough distance to see what it is. I haven't done that in a long time, but that's not true. I did. So don't cry for me, people. I had a really good vacation 2 years ago. So Beth, we have not heard from you much.
Yeah, you've been quiet.
I am just taking in everything that you guys are saying. I'm thinking of each one of you and the people in the chat, and just I'm thankful for this community. That's what I'm over here, just taking it all in and just being grateful to be here. Yeah, I appreciate this, because I'm struggling, like, who am I now? Who am I?
Gosh, I hear you so much.
Because it's like, you walk out of something and then it's like, who are you?
You're Beth. You're allowed to be Beth. I know it's really hard. Like, that's the easiest statement that I can ever say is you're allowed to be Beth, or you're allowed to be Stephanie, or so or Nick. But it's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do because you have to, I think also, Beth, you have to admit that it's okay. It's okay that you walked out, and it's okay that you're asking yourself these questions. Um, and it's good because you're growing from them, and you're helping us grow too, unintentionally. So I value having you here.
I think you'll find your way. It
Well-
probably won't look like anything that you ever envisioned for yourself. I think with Jeff, we were taught, because our parents felt so insecure and they worked for the same place for 35, 40 years. We're taught that you don't change what you're doing. And I remember in college, there was some career counselor, and they're like, you'll change careers 6 times in your life. And so, and they go, you know what that means? And I was like, yeah, it doesn't really matter what you do out of college. And they're like, no, it matters so much, like they were, but Jen, I don't know, someone needs to actually really study us, but I don't know about you, but
I agree.
my parents, when I had a miserable first job, they're like, I know it sucks, but you said you'd do it, so you got to stay there and do it, as opposed to what most of us would tell our children, which is very, very different. So,
and you stayed in the job back then. I think
for a little while.
I did. I stayed for it, back in the day. I would stay just because that's what my parents. You worked. That's it. You worked, and you worked hard. And so for me, it's like, no, I'm not working, and I'm like, yeah.
But then you ended up.
But I am. I am.
If you're gonna end up like working, like I think, sorry, I just can't help thinking of my father, but you're overworking yourself, like doing shifts, like doing night shifts, and then you end up like coming home being unable to control yourself because you're exhausted, screaming at your wife, screaming at your kids. I mean, is that even
not
better?
quite as bad, but it's worse. It's worse. It's also that bullshit thing, especially from the right side, that only men have to bear the responsibility here going forward of being the ones working, unless you've given your wife permission to do a job outside of the house and she's not taking away from your manhood in some way by doing that job, and whatever bullshit.
Or unless you're not white.
Yeah. But even that is like, even white, like, it's especially on the tech side.
Non-whites, they don't like, everyone should and could and needs to work, but like if you're white, then
yeah. Yeah. If you're a white woman, you get to be trad wife. But also, like, it's just it's a very tech mentality that we're living in, and it's not a tech only mentality, but it is a very tech mentality of this 10xer is the only people that are really valuable, or the people who are willing to give everything else up are valuable. I had another thought I wanted to add into that conversation before too, but blew my mind again.
I have a thought. I don't remember who it was recently. I think it was even maybe Kamala Harris. No, someone else was speaking at a graduation and basically said, if you think that you are going to have a career and a family and be perfect at everything, you have been lied to. You cannot be perfect at everything all the time. So, I don't know, who was it? While I was working, my kids didn't, this isn't me speaking, while you work, your kids don't get as much time from you. While you're parenting, your work doesn't get, like, it's all a trade-off. And I don't think that we're taught enough about how to navigate trade-offs like that.
I would agree.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. You were talking about loyalty, Stephanie, from like companies on like or the and Beth on like the expectation of people would work there for 20 years and you'd retire and you'd have this pension or things like that, and the company would help take care of you in retirement. When I got into the career field, I'm a millennial. I got into the career field and the mentality was loyalty lasts as long as the vesting period for your stock options. And that was it. Is once you're fully vested, you're out. Like they don't care, you don't care. Like that was it. Is once your stock options are vested and you have a little bit of money from them because you have to accrue from multiple places over your career, or you're never going to have a retirement, and maybe you'll come back to them and roll it back into their 401k system and they'll make money off of you at some point. But loyalty only lasts as long as the vesting period. And I think that's a problem. Like but I don't think it's a problem in terms of like, oh, we have to be loyal to companies. I think it's a problem in terms of those who lead companies have decided that they don't value loyalty and value retaining people for the long term, which is, if we want to talk on like a cost-based analysis, is less expensive to do than it is to keep rehiring new people and training them. Is to keep someone long term. It is financially more sustainable for a company, especially if that person is good at their job and wants to be there. But there's no return incentive for us anymore to stay anywhere or do things.
That's because leadership is terrible, and that's why we need to have better humaning and leadership. And if anybody wants to talk about leadership and how we can do that, like message me and let's see if we can put something together so that like people get a little taste of knowing that leadership isn't personality, it's actions, and leadership is about making people around you better as opposed to telling them what to do and making their lives miserable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's party line. I guess I have it pretty well.
Yeah, and the idea of, so just to reintroduce the name of the topic and why I think this is important, is it's the placing value on life, not productivity. And everything currently that we're being told is our government or our business structures is placing value on productivity and not life. And how it's being further built in and ingrained into the system. And the idea of, at least to me, of no company loyalty unless they want you. Like even then, it's always just fake promises and lies and exaggerations of like what you could get if you're this 10x or 100xer, and then they never actually get there or they fall short. And so like there's this value analysis that companies do that doesn't actually mean anything other than how much you produce for them. And I think that's why I think coming here on Substack and accepting that it's okay that I'm not producing the same capitalistic value to society does not mean that I'm not adding value to society in my own unique way. You're good, So. You're good.
Is that your cat, So?
Yes, sorry. I was about to say quality over quantity. Quality over sorry, say
quantity. There you go.
Okay, I'm just gonna check, make sure this is okay.
Okay, yeah.
Cats at that age can like jump from wherever and still be fine.
Okay, gotta change the subject. She's alive.
So precious.
Oh,
it's my new baby. So that's quality. So focus on I don't know, like
you doing it?
We're gonna get it. We got a cat. We got some love on the screen today.
Her name's Zelly.
Got beautiful.
You know, my cat who looked almost exactly like her, I've been looking for pictures, I can't find them, was Zelda.
Zelda. Oh.
Yeah, I have one picture that's printed that I have, and I can't find the rest of them, but like she looks just like yours.
That's quality, quality time, like taking care of We don't think about that, but it's some sort of productivity. It's just that it's not as recognized as, you know, maybe that's why trad wives are so popular, because they're giving you a sense of worth, and you're kind of, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're giving themselves the right to be to have value as women who don't necessarily earn money in a sense.
Except they don't. You have to
Mhm.
like make your sourdough and like cook everything to be
Yes.
a trad wife, and
Yeah, you have to be productive, but it's like you're accepting the fact, you're validating the fact that you don't necessarily have to be a working woman. I mean, that you don't have a job because your job is to be a wife.
If I have to be home making sourdough, I'm not going to have a husband.
I think from the male
happening.
side of this, I want to say I'm going to push back, and it's a lot of women don't have that choice. Like, a lot of
Right.
these women are just indoctrinated into it, and they're taught that that's the choice that they get to have, and that they get to have that choice, not that they like just get to have choices in general in life. It's just that is the only choice they're given. And so
Mhm.
they're sort of guilted into it. Like Stephanie, you said, is Catholics have to be taught guilt. And I think tradwifery is, it starts with what they are now calling soft girl, which is they're targeting your children, which sounds just as gross as it is.
Yeah.
that's awful. That's
That-
horrible.
Is the pipeline to tradwife is soft girl. And so they're teaching your children, they're indoctrinating our kids, our daughters specifically, into believing that that is the only option that they're worth. And it's also teaching boys that that is the only option they should give their wives, because that's the masculine thing to do, is to let them be a homemaker and a housewife and a vessel for your babies. Like, and that's kind of it. Like, that's, you is about right, Gail. You is about right. Yeah.
Because all I can think of that comes to mind is this. I'm so sorry.
I love that, Beth. Thank you.
I'm just gonna make one comment: is they have figured out, the white supremacists, how to do this, how to create this trad wife and wellness kid toxic masculinity into Nazism. We haven't figured out how to create the world we want without overtly talking about politics. And that's one of the things we need to learn. And it's one of the things I'm out there to try to figure out. But it is so, it's on purpose. Like, it is, they have a 50-year event horizon for what they want to achieve. And we got to learn from that.
Mhm.
They're trying to
Yes,
crush
Operation,
critical
they have been
thinking.
working on it. I would say since before 1971.
I would say since the founding of our country, when they wanted to keep slaves and people held up like this, we've been doing this since the inception of our country. The Civil War was fought on this idea. Like, this is the idea of owning a person and owning the future of a person. Like, trad wives and soft girls and this 10xer idea is all ownership. Like, men own their wives and their daughters and their sons until they're old enough to have their own families of their, but those men are owned by the church, who is owned by God, which dictates everything. And
This is Quebec in 1940s. I mean, Quebec in the
it's so disgusting.
Did I get my like ruffly apron, or do I wear my, it's so hard. Do I put on my red robe and, do the Handmaid's Tale? I mean, what is it?
Beth, I feel like you'd wear the blacks or the brown suit and you'd be there in the school. Like, I except you'd be the school teacher who's fucking teaching the girls to rebel. And
Yeah, I would be
like, hey, I'm going to pretend to do all this and you have to act like you're subservient.
Mm-hmm.
But go kill that man. Like,
No, you're gonna.
Arsenic is free.
Exactly my words. I'd be like, he needs to take him out. Take him out. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
arsenic
you'd
is
also be
free.
the one that would welcome it with loving arms all the kids who were made to feel different.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
We wouldn't fit in their society.
No, I would not. No, I am a square peg and I'm okay with that. I do not fit into the round hole. I just don't. Yeah. And that's okay.
Well, are you a square peg? You're not very square.
I'm not very
Square or this?
I think you're a heart
I'm
shaped
this.
peg.
I'm heart. Gosh, why
Heart
is
shape.
my I gotta find where it is.
Aha.
I cannot
Oh.
find it.
Okay, y'all. So we have hit the top of the hour.
Yeah.
And I have a show in a little while, in about an hour, with Shane Urick for Palin Talk. So if you want to hear my other side of my work, the much more overtly political and like tech side, come join Shane and I in 1 hour on Banner and Backbone. I'm going to switch us over to our QR code side. Let's see if I've got the right ones. Haha. I did have it prepped up a little bit. So that's my QR code, everyone. Come join me here on Sick of This Shit Publications. Doing a 50% off sale for the rest of the month. But I would highly encourage you guys all to support all of my friends and colleagues first, and then come support me and help me out. Go subscribe to Soso so that she gets over the 500 subscriber mark, because then she'll turn on paid subs. Soso is the one in the bottom right-hand corner. Go subscribe to her. She's amazing. We want to get her over that 500 mark so that she can, but her QR code will be up in a second. So I'm going to do that. It's so first, sell yourself, my friend. And then we'll close out the show with an idea of what we're going to be doing next week so everybody can know what we're all prepped for. So take it away, my friend. Go subscribe.
Quickly, I haven't turned on the paid subs because honestly, I have been struggling with this idea. I'm like, okay, putting pressure on myself because as of now, and I have been a part-time Substacker. I admire everybody who can do it like all day. There you go. That's me and feeling about the guilt of being productive or not. But anyways, I'm just... I'm a part-time subscriber because I do a lot of also things outside. I take care of, I'm a homemaker. If you can see on my picture, I do, when I can, a lot of travel with my husband. I do hiking. I love nature. You won't just hear about politics. You'll see nice animals going by sometimes. I like photography. And it's more of a personal challenge that we've discussed with my friends here, that if I do get over 500 free subscribers, then I might turn on the paid ones, and we'll see. I have a few ideas of what I could do for the paid subs, but it's definitely not going to be standard. So but we'll see. Anyways, so I love this community. I want to thank you all because I actually feel this is helping me regaining foot into a sense of identity. So thank you, Substack, but especially Stephanie, Beth, and Nick.
Glad you're with us, so thank you.
Wow, that's great.
Beth, that's hard to top.
It's really hard.
I know. I'm like, how do I get past that? I am Beth Cruz. I am a dreamer, a writer, and trauma survivor. I am writing about trauma. And I am trying to figure out where I fit in here, but I'm happy to be part of this community.
Have you noticed we give lots of hearts for ourselves? Assuming mine wants
we
to work.
do.
Come on, heart thing.
And I'll work on it later.
We'll get there for you, Beth. We'll get there.
Get it going.
So please also subscribe to Beth too. Like, come on, hit that subscribe. You know you want to. It's in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Just hit that.
Yes, everybody needs to subscribe to Beth and Soso and Nick.
All of them.
And you, Stephanie, sell yourself, my friend.
So I am a historian. I am a migraineur. I guess if I said it right, it would be migraineuse. But anyway, I talk to people for a podcast about how do we create the conditions to make our society what we want? How do we communicate? How do we imagine? And how do we make communities that will help us fight what's out there? I'm starting a show up Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 1. It's just going to be called Freedom Over Fascism Live, and it will still be published as a podcast. And so there's that. And then I'm also a leadership coach. And if anybody wants to talk to me, I'm not pitching you pay. I can just tell you about like the concept is at becognitionlabs.com, or just DM me here on Substack.
Thanks, Stephanie. Awesome. I'll make sure to can you send me those links too? Because then I can put up little QR codes and stuff for you as we go, and any of the shows and stuff that you're working on. Because it's the whole point of this for me, is building the community and helping my friends grow their platforms as I grow mine. And so again, please join me too here at Sick of This Shit Publications. Every Monday we do our chronic illness discussion. Next week, so you had an idea for a show, and I totally forget off the top of my head what it is. Can you introduce the idea you were thinking of? Oh, no, I do remember, but I still want you to introduce it. Of what we're going to talk about next week.
Well, it sort of came up by, and I'm sure you've all had the experience like that, is how do you take care of somebody that has health issues when you yourself are a chronic illness sufferer? And the reason I'm saying this is because Saturday during the night, my husband had to go with the emergency with my mom because she had her first ever shingles flare. So it was starting to be like on her face, and like kind of, it's dangerous, I think, when it gets to your eyes. And so basically it was like 12 at night, and you know how it is when you go to the ER. And we're as everybody, we're stressed, we have stuff to do, and it's like this reminded me also because she had a 4 bypass surgery at the beginning of January. She's doing much better, but I had her here for a whole month. And anyways, I won't get into it. So when you yourself have a chronic illness, have to deal with physical, you're not as it's not every day that you're able to be productive. I said that word again, productive. But yeah, how do you do that? That's kind of a.
I think we all have stuff to share about that. Well, at least 3 of us are in the sandwich generation, and
yeah,
that's you millennial, you.
We got gaslit for everything, so it's okay.
I'll be your mother.
It's all our fault. We did it.
Yeah, taking care of our parents and our kids. That's the sandwich generation. Yeah. And when you have a chronic illness, it feels like such a struggle.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of feel lucky then, because I can talk about that discussion, because I'm a sandwich kid from parents who are closer to the boomer side.
Wow.
So like I actually get to have that discussion, because here in the near future, I may be taking care of my parents and all that. So thank you so for introducing our topic for next week. Stay with us, y'all, for next week. We look forward to having you back. I look forward to talking to my friends again, and give ourselves, if I can make a heart, give ourselves some hearts and love. And finally, let's, as we always say, and as I always say to close out the shows, is let's stop being sick of this shit and let's start doing this shit. And that's what we're doing, building a community. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Have a great